There you go.
Hello.
Now I can say testicles, testicles, hairy testicles. With a little bit of when the bum sweat goes down the buttock, down the testicles, down the testicle hair, and it's like it's not a straight, because you know how they're not straight hairs, where it sort of goes all the way down there, and then sort of like puddles right at the end of it, and you're waiting for it to drip off, and it doesn't quite drip off, and it's like you're waiting for ages and ages and ages and ages until you realize that you're watching another man's ball sack, and your life becomes complete.
I like how Jack was worried about what Chad was saying before wasn't podcast friendly, and now we've got live.
Yeah, I know.
You joined us live where Chad talks about his best challenge wank.
Yeah. Oh my god. Hello, you're listening to Let's Drone Out, the bonus content. We'd like to say thank you. This is our way of saying thank you for supporting us on Patreon.
Well, you're not supporting me, so fuck you guys. Seriously.
Yeah.
You should stop supporting them, start supporting me.
Yeah, so if you go over to Chad's Patreon, Final Glide House.
Final Glide Ass.
Yeah. Going away. Andy RC for the next half an hour, Tony and Curry Kitten. I noticed Tony snuck in Joker.
He wanted to say thanks to Chad because he was talking to Chad on Facebook about stuff, and he just wanted to say thanks, but he was too scared to say thank you.
Oh.
So I let him in so he could listen anyway. But he wanted to say thanks anyway, Chad.
It's all right. I don't bite, but you're welcome. I like chatting with people. Occasionally, I get sick of social media because I'm on it so much that I'm just like, you know what? All humans suck right about now, and I don't want to talk to anyone, and I go ultra quiet. But yeah, I like chatting with people, and I think that's the biggest issue I see with a lot of the more well-known pilots. As they get better known, they tend to not talk to people because they don't want. They always talk about, I want to socialize with you so long as you're paying me money. Yeah. Which means they don't actually want to socialize, and like, you know, fuck the money. I just want to get out there because regardless of the flying and making videos, the socializing is what you remember. That's what you come back for. It's hanging out with guys like you and just talking shit for 3 hours straight and laughing.
Yeah.
The number of times when you go out in a group, you go out flying, you don't remember the flying, but you remember laughing at because Jack did this stupid thing, pulling down his pants, and he had sweaty things going down his testicles.
You know him so well.
Yeah, I know. It's like you've been on the thing.
I've been to England and everything.
I must say, England. I wish I could get. I'd love an excuse to get over to England at some point in time. It's sort of that one area that I haven't visited, which I wish I could.
God, we feel like the fucking leper of the thing.
That's because you are.
It's like
you're all ugly. All you do is bitch and complain, and your weather sucks. So I mean,
our weather this year has been fucking phenomenal.
Yes, we've all moaned about it. That's the point. This is the whinging pom mentality, isn't it?
Yeah.
If there's something to moan about, we'll find it.
We've already got our viewpoint on you because of all the poms that come over to Australia and then complain about the heat and then the cold and then the animals, and it's kind of like, shut up.
Everything wants to kill you.
Yeah,
it's true. It's just dangerous. It's
even the body.
By the way, every time I see Andy pop up on the main screen when he's talking, his YouTube intro song thing just goes straight through my brain every single time.
Do it, Andy.
Oh man, what? Everybody asked me to do it, and it's just. I never knew how to start videos, so I don't know why. I'm gonna stop that. But anytime I don't do it, people complain about it.
You need to do it.
It's your thing now. It's kind of like Steele saying, I'm going to cut off my mustache. Sorry, you can't do it because you'll cease to exist if you do that.
Yeah.
Welcome to my RC channel. Is that right?
It's kind of like Drew stopping being a dick in his vlogs. I mean, if he did that, people would stop listening to him.
We are live to Patreon, but Patreon.
I love you.
You know what I mean, though. I know what you mean. I bet he hates his mustache now. And he just really wants to shave it off, but that's his brand. He can't.
I find it kind of funny when you see other FPV people that have also done it, and it's kind of like, oh no, you can't.
That is proper gay if they they do that.
How does that have any like thing on your sexual orientation?
What?
Tony said it was
He
gay.
was just that was super happy.
No, I think he was talking about, you know, it's the old. You're not allowed to say that anymore. But when you say something that's gay, you just mean like, oh, it's just. You don't mean actual gay.
No,
it's
you don't.
You mean it. That is just so stupid. It's a,
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
That's what it means. It doesn't.
Jack always takes gay. Whenever I say gay or anything like that, Jack takes it to heart
because it's politically incorrect, Tony.
Because he's from Brighton, he loves it.
You can't say that anymore, Tony.
Oh, sorry.
You can.
You can wipe your ass on this though.
I need a lot of it.
No,
oh my god!
That's wrong to say that that's gay.
That looks gay.
All I can think about was that sweat and the dripping hair comment.
You should have rinsed. You should have rinsed those first, so they had droplets on them.
And put hairs on them.
Yeah.
God,
yeah, we like in England, we do feel like the absolute leper left out of the cold because, like, even the UK tour where we had some insiders fuck it up
and fucked us over.
You're right.
We're talking about Jay again.
Oh God, yeah, like, keep it subtle.
I still don't know the whole story behind that. Are you prepared to reveal it?
I want to do an episode that is what did you call it? Jay on. What did you call it, Jack?
Jay on trial.
Okay, we can do that.
I can't do that.
Can that be this?
I have a stupid question. Well, more of an admission than a question. And by the way, everyone say hi to Ruby.
Hi, Ruby.
Hi, Ruby.
I've just invented something, by the way. Sorry, I've got to stop you guys. Check this out, right? So this is a solder sucker, and this is a multi-Wii OSD. And what you do is you load it into here and then aim at the bin. I'm gonna pitch that to Chad Kappa.
You should not make fun of Minim OSD because it was a progression to where things are now, I would say.
Yeah, well,
it was still shit.
It's not.
All of good. I used them on Betaflight boards before anything, even the moths, before OSDs were on Betaflight boards. It was great NWSD on those little things. It was just a bit of a pain to wire because it wasn't very neat.
Yeah, it just wasn't very user friendly for like the non-hardcore hobbyist. That's the difference.
Yeah. Well, that is true.
Yeah.
There was
essentially
wiring.
But if you look at the reality of it, though, the OSDs that are on Betaflight boards is just an integrated Minim OSD.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's ported, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's got a nice, pretty GUI to move things around.
What do you call it? SPI, isn't it?
It's still the same crappy chips and the same hardware. It's just the difference is you don't have to worry about getting all the ground rules right because it's all the way in there. It's the same crappy hardware. They've just modernized the firmware. And for example, all the Alexander Wolf KISS OSD stuff is just based off. It's literally just the original stuff was just compiled on top of Felix's stuff, which is Minim OSD stuff.
Yeah, so don't throw it in the bin, Jack.
Yeah,
I think. Well,
embrace it. Embrace the Minim OSD.
It was
you got to embrace old tech, and I've actually got something. I've been slowly building it. It's taken me far too long. I do it when I can be bothered, but I've got something which I want to use as something as a bit of fun. So I've got old school. I've got a Blackout Mini H quad. So my idea is build up a quad back when quads first became big. So you could go earlier than this, but I wanted to back in the day when it first became big. So I've got a Blackout Mini H quad, which with T-Motor 1806, 2300 kV motors, Gem fan nylon 5x3 props, not glass nylon, nylon. I've got Blue Series 12 amp ESCs with early Simon K firmware flash. I've got a Naze Rev 5 with early base flight.
What color was it?
The red one.
Okay.
The Rev 5.
Yeah.
And I've got the Tyrannosaurus, but with a D4R2, so PPM. A PZ0420 with the bigger one in the blackout, where the most you can get is 10 degrees worth of tilt, but also with a 2.8mm lens on it, and a 3S.
2.8?
Yeah, 2.8. And a 3S nanotech lipo.
1800.
So what this means is you've got old school ESC technology, no thrust with the 5030 props, gutless motors. You've got firmware that this is before air mode, before any of that stuff. So not only do you lose stability when you go below 20% throttle, the props stop.
This is why it took me 6 months to learn how to fly.
But here's the thing. If you go to a big race these days, you've got these young wonders that are just running laps around everyone. But they've only been flying for about a year. So all they know is regenerative braking ESCs and no desync issues and air mode and something that flies really good with the standard default PIDs and so forth. I want to go there and go, okay, guys, here you go. Here's a transmitter. All I want you to do is one lap around this race course.
It's a good idea. I've still got my old school setup.
I've still got stuff that's earlier on the wall than that. I've got a KK2 in one thing and an Naze Rev 5 on the wall there with 50/30s. Yeah.
I remember a friend did some work for me, so I repaid him by I got my old Batbone tricopter up and running again.
Oh no! What did you do that for?
Well, he wanted it, so he was willing to do work for a Batbone tricopter. So I'm like, you beauty. So I got it up and running. I had a KK2 on it, and I went.
Too easy.
Yeah, I went. I got it ready, and the KK2 went out and flew it, and I was like, oh my god, how did I fly this? Like I was literally, with my skill level, I was struggling to hover it. And I remember I was doing like power loops and rolls and all kinds of weird shit line of sight with that thing back in the day. And I was like, how the fuck did I even fly that?
Mad, isn't it?
I had that exact same thing. I thought, I'll go back and I'll see how the tricopter flies. I haven't flown it for ages. And I remember it always flying really nicely and really smooth, getting those lovely turns with that. And I was like, what's going on? What's going on? It was just everywhere. It was all over the place.
We all listened to David Vinderstall because tricopters had whooshiness.
Yeah.
Swooshiness, not whooshiness. Swoosh.
But all right, now I got to get back to this. I go to the admission. It's partly an admission, partly a question. And you guys will be able to answer this. And it's down to your hot topic of Brexit.
Oh fuck!
Oh, no,
okay, wait. Okay, so we all know got out of Brexit. It was a fucking terrible idea, and you guys fucking argue about it, and it's the downfall of your country.
I fucking didn't vote for it.
And we all know it's fucking terrible, and we cannot believe that it's fucking happened, all that sort of stuff. And I'll totally agree. It was fucking terrible. It was a stupid idea. But I've got a question. What's Brexit?
I
have no idea.
Well, you see,
going off about it, and I'm sitting there going, "There's this dude named Brexit that's running down the street, and everyone's going, fucking get him!"
I think a man who had sex with a pig started it, didn't he? Something like that.
I think he did.
So is my understanding correct that the whole Brexit thing is you guys sort of distance yourself from Europe or the EU to separate yourselves or something? Is that how it worked? Or
pretty much?
Yeah.
The original idea was that there were a lot of trading restrictions by being part of the European Union, not part of Europe. We're still part of Europe. It's the European Union, the EU, which sort of has certain like laws and rules regarding trading. and it was originally sold as it would sort of unleash some of that potential, but instead just the amount of negativity around it happening just did the opposite, and it's continuing to do the opposite. I think is that
you guys should vote in Trump, and he'll make England great again.
Hang on, let me.
He'll build a wall.
Hasn't he just put 25% hike on shit imported into America?
He's in the process of doing all the tariffs and all that sort of stuff. So
share window.
Don't worry. Look, you guys. I know you guys are like.
Here you go, guys.
You guys are all like this.
Hang on. Here you go. This is Brexit, as far as I know it. Is it sharing that screen?
It's a blank screen you're sharing.
For fuck's sake, man.
Is that all we know about?
That's just about it. Jack.
I love it. I've managed to create for your Patreon supporters.
Fuck it, I'm going to share my screen. Here you go.
Get you guys to talk about Brexit.
Right, here you go.
Where's it gone?
Has been. That's what. I think at the minute the whole thing's even more confusing than it has been. That's why all this is going. The whole in and out thing. I think everyone's finding it difficult. Yeah. In and out is a very hard decision. It's like the other day, my flatmate was making me a peppermint tea. And he said, would you like the bag leaving in or taken out? And it's very hard because if you leave the bag in, then over time, the cup of tea itself as a whole will get stronger. And it might appear like the bag is getting weaker, but it's now part of a stronger cup of tea. Whereas, if you take the bag out, the tea is now quite weak, and the bag itself goes directly in the bin.
There you go. That
explains it the best.
Pretty much.
I love that guy. Is his name James Arcaster or something?
He's quite funny.
Yeah, James. Acaster.
He has got a series of stand-ups on Netflix, and he does that joke in that. Very, very funny and accurate. Yeah.
It is. That is basically it.
But,
it's full of fucking bigots that thought fucking the immigrants are taking our fucking jobs, even though there's like literally a slither of water in between, and they're like fucking get them all out, blah blah blah, racist bigots. And then the government turned around and said anyone who's still here is allowed to stay. So
I found it funny, like,
and
I look at all of these see these countries where these people need to get out of our fucking country because they're stealing our jobs, and like it's funny because most of it's just total crap. And I watch with interest over here in America, like they hate the Mexicans. The Mexicans are taking our jobs, and I look around, and all the Mexicans here are doing the work that no one else wants to do. So they're doing the jobs that you don't want to do. They're not stealing their jobs. They're just doing the stuff that you don't want to fucking they're doing a lot better job at it because they're like, holy shit, I've actually got a new chance at life here, and I'm going to make the most of it. So that's why they're succeeding, because they're working harder than you are. By the way, that's the society that you put here, where fuck everyone else, look after yourself, and if you work harder, you'll survive.
That's what happens to us. They're called Polish, not Mexican.
I mean, basically, if you look at fucking, like, sorry to use you as an example, Tony, but like Tony, it's like, oh, he's just a window cleaner. He puts a bit of water.
Glazing hygienist.
Puts a little bit of water on some windows, and he does. And Tony, you do well for yourself, don't you? You work hard. You know, and that's all there is to it. And if you didn't do that, maybe an immigrant might.
It's an easy job, yeah.
Wait, I've got another question. So first of all, it's a two-tiered question. So the first question is, bearing in mind that you need to listen to the second question. First question is, what do you think your Patreon supporters right now, considering this is for them, they would like to hear us talking about? And the second question is it about politics? And I'll also put my hand up and say that I'm responsible for bringing up the subject.
It's okay, we were
Chad's
just
fault.
educating you.
I think one of the things that people love about Let's Drone Out is that we very rarely talk about drones.
Yeah.
This is the
We
most.
had people moaning in the chat. We were too on topic.
Even now, this is probably the most drone that this show talks about. So
exactly. We normally talk about lawnmowers, anything and everything.
I also just want to reiterate that once again, all I was hearing was Andy RC's intro.
Well, whenever he's...
Yeah, he didn't do it. You talked over it. Andy, do your intro.
Literally every single time he when you talk, you get put on the main screen. Every time he talks loud enough to get put on the main screen, that's all I hear, and I just have a little bit of a chuckle. I can't help it.
I know, man.
Actually, do it, Andy. Do it.
Even when like we're at an event or something, people say, "Go on, do the thing."
Go on.
And I'm like, hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC. You're listening to the worst drone podcast that there's ever been. That's about as much enthusiasm as I can put into it when I'm like, yeah, I need to get rid of that. I need to get rid of it.
You can't.
Stuck with it.
Come up with something better.
Yeah.
No.
You need to develop a new brand first.
I think what I might just do.
Your current brand will die as we know it today. So you need to build up a second brand. You should Woda Wyatt. That sounds original.
Maybe I'll just like do one video and just do that enthusiastically, and that's the end of the video because that's all anyone ever asked me to do. So
you know how like have any of you guys seen I know Tony has because I saw his beautiful comment of yes it is flat, but did anyone like see fucking Zoe's like literally did a video on like is the earth flat?
What, flying into a blow up globe?
Yeah, I was just like it's a bit Let's Drone Out.
It was a bit.
I didn't see that. Was that recently?
Yeah, it was. It was quite funny.
Just uploaded today, I think.
You need to, man. But I just loved how I scrolled down and there was Tony's comment, like, yes, it's flat. And I was just like,
oh, it is now. She just proved it by squashing the earth.
Like, oh no!
I think that this is a proof of how much I respect Tony as a person because he's the only flat earther that I haven't unfriended on social media. I just decided,
Chad.
I just went, you know what? I can't deal with these guys anymore. And I just went, like, there's a couple of people that I actually liked quite a lot that I found out they're flat earthers. And I went, you know what? No, sorry, that's not good enough. You're fucking gone. And they now hate me because I did that. And I'm like, sorry, but I'm still friends with Tony.
What it is Tony.
It's something about that shiny little head that I just can't wait to just
it's fucking like
it's like a good luck Buddha.
I think it's because he does take the beating for being like, you know, what do you mean you think it's fucking flat? You know.
Have you continued on? Because I had him on one of, I think it was a 24-hour live feed, and every time he spoke about flat Earth, I just turned his volume down. And at first he didn't realize it. So you can see him sitting there chopping away in complete silence. And then 5 minutes we come back up again and we go, "Oh, I'm sorry, we muted you."
Yes, you bastard. So I didn't know that happened. But if I tell you the secret to it all,
get ready.
Your mouth.
Get ready with the mute button.
What you don't realize is that the ladies love the whole flat Earth thing. So he believes it's round, but you know the ladies they sort of like feel sorry for him, like and then like they're like, "Shall we go out for lunch or something?" Like, and it just works. That is a genius, is what you don't realize.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like,
that might be the argument to convince me to come over.
Yeah, you should see the birds on his shoulder
down there for dancing. You know.
Oh God, my dad used to say that.
It's funny. It works, though, Andy. You have a go.
I know it works. I've seen the birds on your. No, I won't say that.
Wait.
Are you allowed to say birds? Probably not.
Yeah.
I say birds.
We're talking about the Earth being flat. You can say birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to. You know, it's because it's so easy to.
What offends someone on here?
I'm really confused on what you're allowed to say and not say these
Try and
days.
use all the dodgy things we said today, so you can say the Earth being flat is totally gay. All the birds will tell you that, and then we covered everything.
That's what this is. This episode needs to be called.
You just need to turn into an Australian, Andy, because we're well known for not caring what people think about what we say. And I learnt that, I don't know, the hard way, but it was also the entertaining way, and it still happens. Every time you go over to America as an Australian, like sort of every third sentence that comes out of your mouth, you see an American sitting there going,
you can't say that.
And I'm sitting there going, what the fuck did I say? What did you just say?
They're totally not down with the C word, whereas in this country, it's quite a term of endearment.
Yeah. Well, not only that, so, okay, this is this shows you also how naive I was when I first came over to America. So I came over to America. So, okay, black people, we got plenty of black people in Australia, but not to the amount that you had that is in America. There's a lot of them, a lot.
Goodbye, Mom.
I can see Jack on the stoplight.
Yeah,
hang on, can I just turn my face off?
We'll be on the news tomorrow.
Oh my god!
So there's an exorbitantly noticeably higher ratio of black people over here, and I noticed it straight away when I was here. And of course, me being the larrikin Aussie, I walked up to Steele and the other guys, and I'm going, yo, my nigga. And I didn't realize how offensive that was. And they're all sitting there going, shut up. You will get shot. We're serious about this. Do not ever say that again. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, do not pretend to be a black guy here. You will get shot. And like in Australia, it's like, I walk up my friend, yo, my nigga. Like everyone just like, even if one of them happens to be black, it's kind of like, oh, well, because like we don't take this shit seriously. No. But in other countries, they do.
Yeah, it turns out they do in America.
Mm.
Yeah, they're like.
I think they do here as well.
You guys have quite a big black population there as well, I guess, as well.
Yeah, we do.
It's interesting because I've grown up in a country where we're a very multicultural society. So I see pretty much any race or country in my country, but I don't like it's fairly evenly matched. There's not a lot of there's a lot of Australians, but Australians are just a bit of everything.
Well, it's the same as England now.
Yeah. So it was noticeable to me when I see like a particular culture of people more than others. It was kind of like when I went to China and surprise, there's fucking Chinese people everywhere. It was like, wow, it was really weird.
And then you become the person that is like.
I fucking loved it. That was actually one of the things that I strangely enjoyed about China the most was getting out of my comfort zone and going like when I went to go and see your boss, Andy, Greg at Fat Shark.
He's on next week as well. So
he when I go to Fat Shark, of course, as you'll know, Andy, it's in the blue collar area. It's not the touristy area.
I've never been. I work remotely, I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, yeah.
So he admits it. I can sound grab that now.
Team viewer.
But where they're situated is in like blue collar part of Shenzhen. So when you go for a walk, you are the only Western guy.
Yeah.
So you're the only one that doesn't have black hair. You're the only tall one. Like I'm 5'7". I'm not overly tall, but in China, I'm tall as fuck. I'm towering over those guys. So. Everyone's looking at me because I'm the weird one. I'm the odd one out. And it was actually a really cool feeling. It was really cool to sort of swap that around and really enlightening to sort of live in that scenario for a while.
That's what happens when Andy comes down here.
I've known people to go to countries like that and actually like have asked to have their picture taken because it's such like a rare thing to them.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I found that bizarre.
that's also China for you, and they have no personal space boundary either. So
Yeah.
in China, they when they want to take your picture, they will walk up and they will grab you and they will shove their face in your face and take a picture without
Wow.
saying a word.
Wow. That's
So
crazy.
like I remember there was one time there where we organized for someone to come and pick us up. Do you remember the Rotor Riot episode, the abandoned island or whatever? We're in this.
Yeah, in China.
Yeah, we're in that place, and they sent out this taxi driver to come and pick us up. He realized he was picking up these Westerners, which he wasn't really familiar with. So here's Steele with his Mavic flying at nighttime in between the buildings, concentrating on his iPhone to make sure that he doesn't crash. And this guy just comes up and just grabs him like his best mate. He's taking selfies with him, and Steele's going, you know what Steele's like? He doesn't like people touching him. He's got his personal space. He's going, dude, what the fuck are you doing? And he's sitting there talking in Chinese, going, and of course, everyone else, we're all being really good friends. We could have helped him. Instead of we were on the ground pissing ourselves laughing, watching him while he's going, why are you touching me? Why is he touching me? He won't get away from me. Go, get away from me. He doesn't understand. Tell him to stop touching me. I'm trying to fly.
God.
That's funny.
That sounds fun. I think we should go to China. Imagine Jack in China. Fucking hell.
Oh man, Jack's like that here. We went to Western Park and he's like putting cameras in, like, what was it? Where were they from, Jack? Belgium or something like that.
Mate, I know. Where's your waffles?
So you'd be fine in China, Jack.
Jack's just an arse.
Yeah, but I don't mean anything.
One day get you shot.
I'm just nipping to get another drink, but I can still hear you, so be careful what you say.
Wouldn't you be glad if I got shot?
I'm going to do one up on that, and that's only because
he's going to go for a piss.
I like that live stream when he went to like KFC or something. That was great. I like that. Anyway, I'm just going to get...
It's only number ones.
Oh, I know
this is definitely Patreon material.
It's just taking a really weird.
He's already said the N word, so it can't get any worse. Like, that's it. Let's Drone. It's been nice doing Let's Drone now.
Why there? Check your.
Mind you, it's not like he called anyone the N word.
Running down.
What's up? Oh no!
I can't believe Chad's having a piss on.
At least he stands up, unlike you. Why do you sit down to pee, Tone? That's a bit weird.
So you can wear his fanny. Is that
it? Very good.
I'm also aiming away from the water bit in the bottom there, so it doesn't make too much noise.
How much water is in your toilets? Is it like America? Because I've never known anywhere to have so much water in their toilets.
No. So, what toilets do you have? Do you have the toilets where you've got like the half flush and the full flush?
Yeah,
you can do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're Australian inventions.
Are we supposed to clap?
Thank you.
Yes, you are.
Okay,
yes, you are.
Thank you for that.
Bow the fuck down.
Thanks, Chad.
Okay.
I've bypassed my toilet so it full flushes all the time.
So
you have to.
Yeah, I have to, and even then it doesn't flush properly.
Back in the bad old days, we had toilets like everyone else that had like the big bowls of lots of water and shit like the Americans do. But of course, in more modern times, we had problems with droughts and shit. So they changed around to like the ones that we use today, which flush a lot less. They have the half flush, full flush, and there's a lot less water in the bottom of the bowl.
Topic.
Welcome to
I'm learning about stuff, Andy.
You fucking asked.
Yeah,
it adds a whole new meaning to the term.
I swear, if your Patreons go out and increase their pledges by $1, I want 50 cents of that shit because I'm responsible.
Deal.
I have to say, on the topic conversation, Chad, you're in America at the moment. What is wrong with public toilets in America? That if you go in a stall, there's enough room so you can wave at people walking by. Every public toilet I've got in America has these massive gaps between the doors. So it's just like you don't feel alone there, so you can see people. It's really weird.
I don't think people generally use the public toilets over here in America. It's a scary situation whether there's
not just airport ones, even company ones. They're all the same. I don't.
But my favorite one though is you get some of these toilets over here where you've got the guy that works in there and he's looking for tips. Yeah, and like I'm not used to that. And I went in there one time, and I went to go into the bathroom, into the toilet, and just as I'm walking in there, this guy in a suit like fucking rushes in there before me, fucking sprays the seat and everything, gives it a quick wipe, and then walks back out again, and then looks at me and then puts his hand out, and I'm like, what the fuck do you want? Like, I was going to use it before you wiped it. Piss off.
Perhaps he was offering to.
It looks like at me like I've fucking ruined his life. It's like, I didn't ask you to do that shit.
He was offering assistance, you know, to hold.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's fucking. What's the next? You're going to ask to hold it? Like, if that's the case, you better be fucking paying me, dude.
There's one thing about America is that apparently every single job there deserves tips, as far as I can figure out.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the one thing that I've struggled to get my head around. Like when I go and eat dinner and shit like that, the friends that I'm with, I say, you tell me how much to tip on there, because it's so fucking complicated. And it all comes down to they don't pay their staff enough, so they've got to survive on tips. But there's two sides to it, so it's really fucking annoying and frustrating. And a lot of the people over here hate it as well. But you end up getting slightly better service because they want to please you.
Yeah.
So people are more happy. Like I remember when I first came to America, my first restaurant I went to, I thought the waitress was trying to crack onto me. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Until I realized, oh, she just wants a tip.
Damn it.
It can get too overwhelming though, because my wife went into a Victoria's Secret store because we didn't have them here then. Just to check it out. And the sales assistant was like, "Oh, I need to hook you up with some panties that are totally awesome." And at this point, my wife just got up and left because she could not handle that sort of enthusiasm about her underwear.
Hook up some panties.
Yeah, that's a bit too much in your face for an English person.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
Although we kind of don't know how to deal with it now because we've been kind of Americanized in certain aspects. Sometimes you'll go to a restaurant and it's like, oh man, should we leave a tip? Like if the person, and sometimes you do leave a tip in the UK, don't you?
Sorry,
like,
you always leave a tip in the UK, don't you, Andy? What have you been doing?
I don't know. Forget that.
Shocking.
I only do if it's worth it. Sometimes it's not been worth it.
It seems like a stupid
outside of the US, I've only ever tipped someone once in my life, and that was because it was his first. You can see it was his first night on the job, and it was an anniversary dinner. And I was like, so I tipped him $20, and it made his fucking night.
Yeah.
We don't call them tips here either. We call them bribes, don't we, Tony?
You got a bribe now and again. I like a bribe or two. Seems to work. We like bribing, don't we, Andy?
You like bribing to get you out of trouble, yes.
It seems to work. Money talks.
Funnily enough, Tone, I've been asked to go to the Towers. Tomorrow, I'm just trying to decide whether it's worth it or not. Yeah.
Who you been asked?
Well, you know, when me and you went to the Towers, someone left a note on the Towers, and it was someone local to me, and so I contacted them, and now that's who I'm flying with some local guys now because of that. Cool. But they're going to the Towers tomorrow, and we're just trying to decide whether I want to put myself through the stress of getting there.
It is a bit stressful. Take wellies and don't wear shorts.
Yeah, or just don't go at all because I've already been.
All that.
Yeah, we've got this. No, Chad's not going to know what we're talking about. We've got this abandoned power station. It's probably, quite a rare thing, isn't it? Well, especially for here, stuff just usually gets knocked down. We don't have real bandos here. We have what would you call them? Like derelict castles and things more so, don't we?
Yeah, but you got castles. Castles fucking rock. Like in Australia, we don't have shit. Our country's not old enough to have anything abandoned. It's just because the Americans are fucked in the head that they abandon so much shit.
Yeah, we don't have that.
We literally don't have anything abandoned. We don't have anything ancient. Like oh, look, a park.
Yeah.
We ain't got enough room to abandon shit. We need to knock it down and rebuild it. That's the problem with it.
I cannot get over how much abandoned shit there is in America. It's literally like the laws they have. It's like, I can't afford to pay for it. I'll just walk away.
Leave it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's nuts, the amount of abandoned shit. Like in Atlanta, we go to all these abandoned locations, and it's like, Jesus Christ, like a 17-story fucking abandoned hotel.
Mad. That's mad.
There you go. That's why we don't have many famous FPV pilots in the UK, because we knock everything down. That's my excuse.
Because you're responsible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we've got this power station that's like got huge cooling towers. Probably the only abandoned place that we've got, and it's pretty cool to fly. It's really yeah, it's interesting, but it's quite dangerous to get to. That's my issue, and I'm old, so I don't like danger.
Don't like the old farmer with his shotgun, do you, Andy?
No, we're walking across this field, and like I'm already like, you know, shitting it, because it's like, you know, we're in a farmer's field and we shouldn't be. And then Tony's like, imagine if the farmer's just sat behind a thing with a gun pointed right at us now. And I'm like, oh, brilliant, Tony. Thank you very much for that.
We were all right.
I don't think I'm gonna go. It's the kind of place that once you've been once, it's like,
it is like a hit it and quit it area, isn't it? I don't know if I'd do it again. Mind you, it was like a 3-hour drive for us to do it.
Yeah, but they're on about going tomorrow, and I'm like,
it's the sort of place, if Chad come over, it would be good to meet, and Chad could go fly it and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true.
That and a couple of castles. Chad, you need to come over to England to fly the cooling towers and some castles.
The castles were cool, I have to say.
I'm not listening. I'm going through Andy Arcee's YouTube channel to find his reverb review and see how much bitchy stuff he's talking about.
Oh, I haven't
done it yet.
Oh well, I'm not fucking important enough then. Great, awesome. Well, I'll talk to you when you fucking review my shit then.
Oh man, I'd love a reverb. I need to do that actually. I haven't really been concentrating. I tell you why I haven't reviewed the reverb and all of the and like Tommy's frame and stuff. I've been concentrating on race frames and ultralight stuff because I just liked how they flew. But I only ever really flew on my own, you know.
Yep.
I never flew in groups. And then I started flying with these guys, Tony and Jack, and meeting up with also people in the UK. And when they were flying freestyle frames, and I couldn't understand why. And then when I look back at all our footage, theirs was by far the best compared to mine. Yeah. So I'm like changing at the moment actually, and that's exactly why I'm updating my Alien, because I have an Alien, but I don't really fly it. But when we're going to these locations and just enjoying flying, I've been getting rubbish footage back. So I'm getting back into the sort of freestyle heavier frame to get the better footage. So that's why there's no actual. But I'd love to check out Reverb for sure.
Well, here's another question. I'm looking at, so yeah, updated one 9 hours ago, then 2 days, then 5 days, then 1 week, and most of these are reviews of stuff, so new product. So how are you getting the products? Are you like buying the products and that sort of stuff, or are they being sent to you? Because I'm looking at your views, and while I'm sure you'll make a little bit of money on the views, I'm sure you know as well as I do that YouTube is not exactly the way to wealth and fortune when it comes to, and certainly probably wouldn't pay for what you're reviewing there by a long shot. So how are you able to get a hold of all those things and justify buying them, or are you being borrowed, or like how do you justify getting lots?
It's around about 50-50. So I get offers to have stuff sent to review. Funnily enough, Road to Riot sent me there, and I wanted to ask you about this actually, because they have a flight controller that's coming out, and I'd be very.
There's so much hype involved in it.
Is that the one in the jelly thing?
Yeah. I've had it for a while, and it's actually in this cockpit. Oh, my video's crap. But I actually had a problem with it, so that's the reason why the review hasn't come out. But to go back to your question.
No, yeah, I want to talk about the hype flow controller, please.
I get sent a lot of stuff, and I can tell you how that happened though. So my sort of because I've been flying a long time. I've been doing this, so I'm like 35 now, and I've been doing this since I was 7. I started off with like RC planes and stuff.
I remember seeing your channel when I first started getting into it and seeing some of your reviews.
Well, actually,
he's like one of those long-time professional YouTubers. Dreams can come true.
That must feel good.
No, I just like you say.
He goes, no, he encouraged me. That's got to be a bad thing.
Just like you say, there's no money in it whatsoever. So, and it gets worse. I think there was a bit of money in it when the hype happened, and I talk about this all the time with like other people that do what I do, and there was definitely like a hype where I think people just threw a load of money into it, not really knowing what they were doing, and they had a bad experience and gave up. And I think so what is left is the people that sort of really learned how to fly and stuck with it, and everyone else either gave up or went the DJI route.
It's a hobbyist community and always will be.
Yeah, but anyways, I'm getting off track on how like so I started my channel. I actually started it as a way to sort of combat anxiety and depression, as I know you've done a lot of stuff on that, and I think that's why a lot of people do it. You know, it's a common thing. And I was like proper stressed in my job and stuff. So I started. It was just a place to put my flight videos at first, and then people would sort of say, "Oh, well, how did you do that?" And it sort of ended up becoming like a tutorial thing. And then I got to about, I think it was 2,000 subscribers, and I started getting messages from companies then saying, "Would you like?" And it was cheap toys and stuff, but that's all I could afford anyways, was like the Hubsons, and we're going back to about 2012 here, so before mini quads took off. And I ended up, what happened was I had something happen at work. There was a chap that I worked with, and he just died on the spot at work, and it just completely changed my mindset, because I'd always saved money and never really bought stuff, and then all of a sudden I just piled. When this happened, I thought, oh man, that could happen to me. I just piled all my money into it, and so I just bought anything that if I wanted it, I bought it, and that's sort of still kind of been the same. But so it's around about 50-50. So it's a long-winded way to answer the question, but I get sent stuff, quite a lot of stuff, but I also buy stuff, and yeah, that's it really, 50-50. And there's not a lot of money in it, and yeah, it's yet to pay me back, put it that way. from anything I've ever put into it. But the apart from like the Steels, the Joshua Bardwells, and the Rotor Riot type guys, everyone else that does this kind of thing, you're not really making a living at it. It's more out of a passion. You've got that small group of guys who are making money, and then when they do start making money, they have to make business decisions, which really changes the direction that you go. But everyone else, I think people have this assumption based on old school YouTube back in the day.
Me, Tony?
Jesus.
Old school YouTube where you would get a decent return on ad revenue, which is no longer the case now.
Oh my God, you have absolutely murdered that.
Yeah. And they think that, oh, well, cool, you've got 20,000 subscribers, so you must be doing really well, which is total bullshit, because every single FPV related channel is getting loose change in terms of what they're getting in revenue from YouTube.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And the only person that is getting a reasonable amount in Patreon would be Joshua Bardwell. So he's getting about $1,800, $2,000 a month.
I think
through Patreon.
UAS Futures gets about 4,000 a month is what.
Yep. Yep.
Patreon's where it's at if you wanna. And
Yeah.
I kind of missed the boat with that because I only opened a Patreon. Was it 3 months ago, and I'm regretting it now because I've always sort of suffered with stress and anxiety. And you mentioned about the frequency of my videos, and the thing that I loved about not having a Patreon was that I could not make a video and it wouldn't affect anyone. There was never any pressure to perform. And then that was my worry about opening a Patreon. But now I regret it because I think those people that do invest into Patreon, like sort of have like 2 channels that their favorite channels that they invest in and nothing else. And I kind of feel like if I'd have gone for the Patreon route earlier on, I might be in a much better place financially now. But you can't. I try not to think of it like that, and I am glad that
can't live in the past. Yeah, you can only learn from it. But I'm kind of similar. Like I only
push your Patreon and DRC.
What, Jack? Say again.
Do you even push your Patreon and DRC?
I don't push it now because my problem with Patreon.
Sorry, Chad.
Sorry.
I like Patreon, but I do get the impression that there are a lot of people that sign up to Patreon expecting to get something back.
Yes.
Like as in
totally
when I say get something, I mean like I get a lot of products my way. They're expecting free stuff their way, and you know, and so I don't really. Is there a point in having a why not just, if you get a load of free stuff, just sell the free stuff rather than giving it away? Then you get the money that way. So that was my. But I think the people. So I don't do like. If I do a giveaway, I make sure that it's for everyone on YouTube and not just the Patreon people. But I know that's a way to get into Patreon is to push like rewards and stuff. I don't do that because it stresses me out, and I worry about the people that, because essentially it's my audience as well as the patrons that I can do anything. So I feel it's a bit unfair to just push things towards Patreon rather than Patreon. And so I don't push Patreon, no, but I do link it in my videos. That's it.
I'm kind of the same. Like I was always like, I hate that. Oh, you'll get this if you become a Patreon subscriber. I hate that shit. When I did stuff because I was passionate about it and I wanted to help people and I wanted to help everyone. And I was like, at first I didn't want to do Patreon at all. Like I don't do all these fucking Amazon links and Patreon. I hated all that shit because I hate all that sort of like begging for money, because at the time my goal was full-time career in Rotor Riot and doing something bigger and better and more meaningful, which of course never fucking eventuated. So I'm like, okay, eventually after people annoyed me for long enough, they'd start up a Patreon. So I started up a Patreon. But my whole idea with the Patreon was like, if you like what I'm doing and you want to support that, then you're welcome to go over to Patreon. I'm not going to go out of my way to give you extra shit because you're a Patreon subscriber. But if you want to thank me for what I'm already doing, I'm happy for that, and I'm thankful for you. And I'll chat with you in Patreon on sort of stuff. But the same thing, I'm not into doing giveaways and shit like that. And it just doesn't seem right to me, because I'm not doing it just for the patrons. Stuff that I do is for everyone. And you've got that small group of people who are like, we want to thank you by sending you some cash your way, which I'm really thankful for. But I hate doing all that sort of extra stuff. It just seems really weird.
Yeah,
and I see that, and it sort of ends up where only Patreons are getting stuff, because you realize that like the YouTube side of things is really just a way to advertise for your brand, but Patreon's where you get your money. So you do enough on YouTube to get people's interests, and then the good stuff is only available in Patreon. And it's kind of like that really defeats the purpose of what I was trying to achieve in the first place.
Yeah, and I think eventually as well, I think this is just my opinion. I think if you do push Patreon so much, then you'll retain those people perhaps, but you won't gain the interest of new people. And really, that's I think that's just as important. But my whole thing is I get stressed out really easily. Like I was like an investment banker for like years, and it just pushed me over the edge basically. So I try and just to do stuff that doesn't stress me out, and having a divide between Patreon and non-Patreon people just stresses me out. But
yeah.
I talked to Lee on this, Andy. That's Painless 360, Joe. If you must have come across his videos occasionally, and he was saying, because I felt like everybody else does, that I can't really say, hey, I'm doing this. This is my lifestyle. But if you'd like to send me some money because you like what I'm doing, that's fine too.
It's bizarre, though, isn't it?
But yeah, but he brought it down to because I was saying about the rewards thing, and like I can't feel I can invest time, and I'm worried like if I say I can do this for you and that for you, then it's going to take time up. And he said basically that the people who will jump on there and want to support you are the people that really already love what you're doing. They don't want anything from you. They're just saying, oh, we like what you're doing, do this. Because I put out a video every month saying I'm going to do this, this, and this. If you know anything you want, and people just say, oh, great, carry on. No sort of question about doing anything else. Which is kind of just really nice.
I've got some supporters which are paying me $40-50 a month because they just want to say thanks for what I've done. And I love that. I'm fucking appreciative of that. They're not expecting me to send them free shit all the time. They're not expecting to get content that no one else gets. And occasionally, if I do something, I might send them the video a couple of weeks before it goes out. But I mean, that's not worth the $40. And I think that's the essence of it. That's what I like about what is important to me about Patreon. You already appreciate and thankful for what I'm doing, and want to support that without any expectation. So about the only thing that my Patreon supporters get is they can send me a question direct through Patreon, and they know that they'll get an answer.
Yeah. But I bet you'll find, though, I find I get the least amount of questions through Patreon because they are doing just what, as you say, paying for to support you rather than actually bombard you with questions. That's what I find. I get the most amount of questions from YouTube and other social media and stuff.
Yeah. And and it's that way. Like you look at people where people add and then people take off or they stop supporting you, and I'm just sitting there going, well, that like I don't feel bad if anyone does or doesn't, or if it's someone that I know and they stop or they start, because there's no real reason, there's no real promise that I'm giving them something. They're just doing it out of their kindness of their heart. So I feel much better about the situation, and that's one of the reasons why I've never really pushed the Patreon. Every once in a while, I might say, "Hey, look, here's my Patreon. If you want to support me, great." And I appreciate it. And but it's for supporting me and not really anything else. I'm not promising you anything else that no one else will get. But going on from what we're saying there about like making money in the industry, I've said this plenty of times. If you want to make money in the industry, the only way that you can really make money, with the exception of like exceptions, like Joshua Bardwell is an unusual exception where he's doing a lot of work reviewing and helping people where he can sort of get away with that. But even he's doing this. The main way to make money in this industry is to get a product and put your name on.
Yeah.
That's the only way that you can really make money. The whole ad revenue on YouTube is a joke. We're talking dollars and cents here, and the market isn't big enough to make any money out of that. So you're doing that either to advertise your brand or you're passionate about it. Then you've got Patreon, which is small, but it's an additive to it. Then there's the Amazon links, which is small, but there's an additive to it. And if you're big enough, that sort of it all kinds of adds up. But and you'll see all of the big pilots do this. They do signature series products. The Mr. Steel Yellow HQ props, all that sort of stuff, where they've had no input in it, but if they put their brand on that, it's going to sell better.
You get a little bit of kickback, I imagine.
Yeah, and you get like the HQ props. When you did that, you got like 1 cent per prop or something like that.
Sell a million props.
Yeah, and where you get the most money is where you help to develop a product directly with the company. So you spend time, you put your time and energy into that to make a new product, or as the case is a lot of the time, an existing product painted a different color, but it's got hype and all that sort of shit. That then people really want that, and you get a bigger price margin of it. So, for example, I'm getting a reasonable profit share percentage-wise of what Impulse RC gets from the reverb because I spent so much time on it, much more than I would for anything else that I've worked on out there, because of the amount of effort that I put into that. So the more effort you put in, the more effort you get out. But yeah, definitely making products and associating yourself with those products, that's the way to make money. So right now I'm surviving on most of my money. I'm surviving on reverb sales alone. So if you have a successful product, you can, I'm not saying you can get rich, but like I lead a very simple life, and it's not enough that what I'm getting from reverb is not enough to survive wholly and solely. So I need to do other shit. But on a decent product, if you design a product that is successful, long-term successful, then it can go a good way to supporting you. And that's where people like Steel is doing that. So he's got the Steel PDB, he's got the Steel motors, and that's where most of his revenue on the props. Yeah, my props would he put his own fucking color on. Don't get me started there. But yeah, that's where the money is, and that's why you see all of these pilots, all of these companies, they will eventually go and put their name on ship. That's why you've got the Riot Control. That's why you've got the Hype Train motors. That's why they've made the CL1 frame, because they're not making money anywhere else. That's where they make their money.
Yeah.
I'm now shocked that no one's invited me to develop a curry kit and lost model finder.
Same here.
No,
Same here.
what would you do, Andy RC?
I do custom intros for videos.
You could do dog shit bin designs.
I really don't know. I don't know what I could do. I'd love to.
Someone already to do dog shit designs. It's my emote on Twitch.
I'd like to say I'd like a frame, but I don't have any experience, so I couldn't really say. I've seen a lot of products, but I'm not really sure I could say I could.
You what, Chad? You the alien with one less standoff,
or just paint some flames on it.
But here's the problem, though, that you also have to ask yourself: how different is your idea, and how saturated is that market that you're trying to get into? So this is why, like, motors, pretty much no one's doing custom motors these days because people have tried. There's so many fucking motors out there, and they're all so fucking similar that the amount of effort that you put in is most likely not worth the effort. The only exception to that is if your brand is big enough, like Schizo or Steel or Johnny FPV, your brand will pull that along enough to possibly make it worth it. But I will go out on a limb to say that even like the Johnny and Schizo motors are probably not doing nearly as good as they could have in the past when there was a lot more hype surrounded about it. And the same thing goes for frames. Okay, cool, going to design a frame. Particularly if you're a nobody company or a nobody pilot or someone who's not well known as a big name pilot, I'll put it there that you got a 5% chance on that frame being successful. You have to bring out something radically different. And as I keep on saying, everything, the technology has plateaued so much that to bring out something new is next to impossible. Yes, you can bring out something new, but can you bring out something new at a price point at which people are prepared to pay? That's the problem.
Yeah. I think I know what product I'd release. I've just come up with it. It's the zero latency 4K HD digital FPV system. I just need to figure out how to
combine to a frame that's under 250 grams.
Yeah, and costs about $10. Yeah.
Yes. There we go. And a new style of battery.
Yeah.
4 times the energy density.
There you go. I've got it sorted. I'll put my name on that.
No, I want to develop like the Mr. Fusion reactor from Back to the Future and attach that to a quad somehow. I think that would go for a long flight times on that.
Shove a banana in it and it go.
And if it goes above 88 miles an hour, the shit's really going to hit the fan.
So, Chad, what can you tell me about Riot Control? Can you tell me anything? Why didn't mine work?
I have no idea.
Is it hype?
It's a regular flight controller with some soft mounting on it.
With a lump of jelly in the middle.
Here is the thing.
When we talk about hardware, When we talk about actual hardware, remove all the hype and bullshit. All of these flight controllers is the same shit with the UARTs and the pads moved around. Some of them are slightly better designed than others, but it's the same shit, just mixed around. You might find one that suits your install better, but it's the same stuff. Now you can say, well, this one's an F3 and this is an F4. The reality of it is it's not that much fucking different. Oh, but this one's got an F3, an F4, and an F3. Well, that's just a fucking F7 where they're trying to do it the fucking cheap way. If you did it properly, you'd put a fucking F7 on there. Don't believe me? 4 plus 3. What does that equal? Fucking F7, you retard. Look, it would be proof in the pudding if there was a big difference between gyro X and gyro Y and processor X and processor Y. Then there would be a noticeable difference that everyone would be agreeing on and everyone would be going that way. But that's not. So when people say, what flight controller should I use? I go, well, first of all, what's your firmware of choice? Flight 1, KISS, or Betaflight? And I put Butterflight in that because it's kind of the same anyway. Choose that direction and then choose the flight controller suit that way. If you go with Flight 1, then you've only really got one flight controller to choose from. If you've got KISS, you've only got one flight controller to choose from. If you've got Betaflight or Butterflight, there's a multitude of flight controllers to choose from, but they're all essentially the same stuff. It's kind of like motors. Which is the best motor? I don't know. Which is the best motor that suits your needs? There is no best. There is only something that suits what you want. Okay, so I want 2 extra UARTs because I'm flying long range and I want GPS and all this sort of stuff hooked up to it. Okay, cool. Well, you probably don't want an F4 flight controller because you're limited to the number of UARTs that you have. I'm flying this. Well, okay, well, there's not that. It's not about the performance. It's about how you can introduce it into your quadcopter with the components that you've got to suit you best. And that means there is no best. It's what suits you for your situation. And if you take away all the brand loyalty and all the fucking fanboys and shit like that, that's what it boils down to. So when they try and tell you it's the next fucking greatest thing, then I think they're tugging themselves a little bit. So what the Riot controller is, if you want my official position on it, it's a regular flight controller that they've soft mounted.
Yeah, and you know what, Tommy was actually, I asked you that question, but I kind of knew anyways because I've been speaking to Tommy directly, and I just said to him, look, as far as I can see, this is a DYS flight controller that's soft mounted. It's even got pads in the same place. And he said, yeah, we've worked in conjunction with DYS to come up with this product and put Rotor Riot on it, and that's basically all it is. We've soft mounted it because that's what we wanted, and it's got I think it's got a 9-volt out on it, and the original DYS hasn't. But essentially, it's a DYS flight controller, which I thought was. And he said I could say that in my video, so he's quite open about it. I
mean that's not to put.
You can't hide it.
I don't want to put Rotor Riot down here. It's like if that flight controller suits what you're doing and works well for you, great. But let's be real here. All of these pilots and a lot of these companies, they're not electronics experts. They don't design PCBs. They go to these other companies and they say, hey, what we want is this. And then the company goes, oh, we've got something very similar to this. And they go, okay, we'll take that, but I want you to change this. So it's essentially the same thing. The performance doesn't increase. It just suits the user. And that's why when I try to work with people, I try to work with people who are the source. So I work with people like Felix. Felix does he does both the code work and he also does the PCB design hardware and populates the prototype board. So I've got a lot of prototype stuff where he physically populated the whole board himself by hand, like Timecop used to do with the old Rev 5 nays and shit like that. And so I like to be able to get rid of all the middleman shit, talk to the guy who actually does it, and you can work together. For example, the Wolf PDB and the Steel PDB were designed and tested by Sean at Impulse RC. He didn't source it out. He is an electronics whiz. Not very many people know that, but Sean, who manages, he doesn't own Impulse RC. He manages Impulse RC. He's designed everything. All of the Impulse RC electronics, Sean designed. And that's why I like working with those companies, because There's not this sort of middleman. You're pretending like you're working with the people. And this is also one of the reasons why people ask me, why didn't you call the reverb the FGA quad, or you didn't call the V1S prop you didn't call the V1S, you didn't call it the FGA quad or the Chad Nowak prop or something like that, or the Chad Nowak edition of the Vortex Mojo and that sort of stuff. And I just say, look, what other people want to do is up to them. And when I say this, I'm not going to judge other people, but this is how I feel about the situation. I had a big input on the V1S prop. I had a very big input on the Mojo, and I had a major input on the reverb. But what I'm not going to do is put my name on there and pretend like this is all me, because there was always a large group of other people behind the scenes that were key to making this work. So I believe I'm a good pilot and I know what is needed to make a good product. And I also have a decent experience with composite construction. I know enough about electronics to get myself into trouble, but I don't know how to make carbon fiber. I can lay it up, but I don't know when it comes to if you do three layers of this carbon fiber and that, how that's going to change things. I also know nothing about 3D milling machines, CNC machines. I can't design a PCB to save my life. I don't know enough of that stuff. But what I can do is I can go, okay, as a pilot, I know what I want, and I know what the people want, and I know the direction that we want to go. Sean, you're a fucking fantastic electronics person. You're going to stand there, and I won't mention some of the names. Some of the other guys within Impulse RC. Okay, so you're really good with composite. You have a good idea. Cool. Okay, Sean, also, you're extremely good with 3D CAD software. Get all these people together in a room, and together we can make something great. Whereas alone, we could make something that was 80% there, but 20% crap. And we all know those products that are 80% that come out of China that are 80% good. And if they only did this, it would be a world beater, but it's crap. And they never quite get there. The reason being is they never get those good people all together working together. And I want to pay homage to those people that that are also involved in it, that are also benefiting from it. But I don't want to be all high and mighty and say, hey, this is me. Where I let's give it a fucking name. It's not going to be my name. Otherwise, it's going to be the Chad Sean quad. So all of those new small little tweaks on the reverb, half of them were my ideas, half of them were Sean ideas. So like the split bottom plate idea, that was Sean's. That wasn't mine. He just said, I've come up with an idea. We played around with it.
I feel lied to now.
Yeah, there you go. Like,
was
for
it your
example,
idea to remove the extra standoff?
That was actually Sean's as well.
Oh, God,
that's why you called it reverb and not. I understand. It makes sense.
So there's little things like, for example,
what did you do then?
I put my name on it. I mean, it was actually very interesting because
look at him trying to backpedal now.
I could chat to Chad all night. It's just incredible information.
I love chatting to Chad.
I've got a flight controller here that I want to ask Chad about, but I have a feeling it would send the stream for another hour or so. So I'm gonna hold it up to the camera and hope you can see it.
KSI flight. Okay, yeah.
I didn't even know it was a thing. Did I take it you know about it?
Yeah, I know as well.
I know a bit about it. I've never really got involved with it because there was a time last year where I just went, I am so sick and tired of testing and dealing with so much crap that, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to find something that works with me and stick with it. And I did that by, I need motors that perform the way that I want to perform. So the Hype Train, the original Acro Hype Train motors, I didn't design the bell, and I would have designed the bell a little bit differently. But the way that it works, its internals, started off with what I wanted. And then Tommy put his input in, and then some other, Ryan Farrell put his input in, and all that sort of stuff. I tweaked a little bit, but that's the motor that I wanted. So that was good. The props are what I wanted, V1S props. The flight controller I've always worked on. The the camera, VTX camera, that's a long story. That's essentially what I've been working on, what I've been wanting. It never ended up working out that way, but that's what I wanted. And then the last piece was the frame. And I'm like, you know what? I've got everything I needed, like ESCs, and I've worked with Felix at ESCs. Once I get a frame out of the way, I've worked pretty much on everything that I want.
Yeah.
And it's to the way that I want. And I'm just going, you know what? I don't give a fuck anymore until I see something out there that truly is different and groundbreaking improvement. I don't give a shit anymore. So I knew that Flyduino was working on them. They're not the only ones they were working on. So, for example,
Oh, really?
Flyduino were working for quite a while with Immersion RC to make a version of KISS that would go on the Vortex 230 Mojo.
Right. Interesting.
So that way you could buy a subscription or whatever, like pay for it, get a key code, and then you could flash KISS onto your Vortex. So that's what they were working on. It didn't end up working through. And also with Impulse RC, they were working on the same thing for the Helix.
Right. Yeah.
So you could pay or whatever, and then flash KISS onto the Helix board.
Yeah.
So the hardware on both of those were similar enough in terms of gyros and processors and the layout of that it would work. It was taking some work to do, but it just sort of fell through and didn't work. And I think the iFlight people sort of took up from where Immersion RC and Impulse RC started.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I didn't even know it was a thing, and then they contacted me. I was like, oh yeah, because it's the first time I've ever seen sort of KISS officially branch out to another company. Yeah. So
what I look at that is I go, what's that offering me that I don't already have?
Well, it's not, is it? I don't know if it's. I haven't even looked at it yet, but is it cheaper than the V1? Because it's an F3, so it's not the F7. So I don't know. I actually don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It gives more options out there, and the whole KISS brand is more of a boutique brand that some people aren't willing to pay the price for. And I'm not going to say it's too expensive, because too expensive is a personal choice, and you choose what you are willing to pay and so forth. Just don't bitch about it in public space, because I hate people that bitch about price. But I mean, if that's not for you, that's not for you. So what that's essentially doing is that getting a new potential customer base that KISS wouldn't normally have had.
Yeah, that's what I see it as. Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm gonna be sticking it on something at some point. We just lost Tony. Do you guys need to wrap up? Have we talked for too long?
No, it's all right.
Oh shit! I can talk all night. I'm sitting here, comfortable. It's nearly 4 p.m. on an afternoon. I've got the air conditioning directly behind me, keeping me cool. I'm in a good spot. I've got fucking Netflix going on in the background.
Oh, The Crown. You're particularly patriotic.
Very British.
That's just what happened. I'm not watching that shit. It's just up there to fucking
whatever.
make it look like I'm educated.
What could be if you were masturbating?
Look what's coming up. The next episode's coming up called Brexit.
I hear it's good, The Crown. I hear it's very good. I'm gonna have to head off though, because it's like
you had the knock on the wall.
It's yes. It's
no.
past time. I'm afraid.
It's part of the swingers club.
See, what we didn't know was that Tony and Andy are in the same house, and Tony, knock, we've got to go to bed.
Put it this way, it's one of the reasons why I can afford to do this full time. is I live very cheaply. So, anyways, yeah.
That's cool.
All right, head off, but it was awesome. Thanks so much, Chad, for answering. I got so many questions.
What a legend.
You answered.
That's all right. Well, look, I'm more than happy to be on any Let's Drone Out episode that you guys, so long as I'm physically able to be there, more than happy to chat with you guys. It's always fun, whether that be the public one or the Patreon only. You go Patreon people, you rock. And if you increase your donation now, you'll get a special private session with me that may include clothing, may not include clothing. Depends on how much money you give.
Thanks, man. Like we always love having you on. Is Kathleen any freer now? Because she said like, oh, I've never been on Let's Drone Out, but we told her the time, and she was like, "No."
Well, she's working 5 days a week, so
Oh man,
really depends on the time of day.
yeah, it's just.
He's always available. Hello. Ha!
Oh,
I got myself a dog.
What a doggo! What a cutie! Oh.
I'm gonna head off, chaps. Anyway, so
No worries, thanks, Andy.
I'll talk to you soon.
I hope you're a bit better now. I missed you. Like, I can't believe you're Tony's favourite.
I don't have a favourite really. I love all you guys.
No, you don't.
Only the patrons will hear me say that.
Right. He's replaced me with Joker. He totally has.
He has not.
He has.
Joker could never be that offensive.
Can he fix stuff?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, right.
Right. See you guys.
See you later.
See you later.
See you later, Andy.
See you, Chad.
Wow.
Yeah, is it shield technique routine? You should watch AVE, man. That'll teach you how to.
Yeah, Abe's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I love his channel.
I know. Teach you how to not deal with the bullshit. You know, I bet he could enjoy a good hard Brexit if he had to. Mind you, he's Commonwealth as well, so.
Yeah. He speaks French.
Yeah, French Canadian. It's not real French.
I was totally freaked out when I went over to Europe the first time and I found out there's like 72 different versions of French and 72 different versions of German. I'm like, what the hell?
Yep.
Too complicated.
Austrian, German, all sorts.
My father-in-law married a German woman and he could fluently speak German, but he said in the evening, after a couple of drinks, they'd talk this thing they called Black Deutsch, which is almost this complete slang. And he said he could not get it after 20 years of listening to it. It was just a complete mystery to him. They could just chat about him to their heart's content. He didn't know what they were talking about.
I speak 3 languages, Australian, English, and American.
Fuck's sake. Man. Any news? What did they say about taking your gliding license away from you and all that shit?
Oh no, I still got my gliding license, but that's no issue. It's just that they want to do a warning shot across my bow, and they want to see that I'm complying and that sort of stuff. So during the whole interview and shit like that, and I call it the interrogation because it was quite funny. It was like an interrogation. I played ball and I was well politically correct and that sort of stuff, and just waited till the investigation was finished, and once it was all finished and the paperwork was done, then no one like out publicly going, you know what, fuck you.
Yeah. So you just like going through the motions.
Yeah, go through the motions. While they want to do that, I can play the game. I know what it's like.
I just don't like, like cricket and what you said about in your video. Like, like the police powers are like crazy.
I did not like that. The new powers that they're talking about giving the police is to basically do whatever they like. It's like, we're coming in your house because we think you might have a drone, and we're taking away your computer because we think there might be drone footage on there, and we're making you open your car just in case you've got a drone. It's all that's insane.
The big problem too is in that area of aviation, that's an area that the police don't study and they don't understand the law. So more often than not, they go above and beyond what they're allowed to do anyway. This is why, at least in Australia, if I'm doing something illegal as far as CASA is concerned, the CASA officials are the ones that are dealing with it. Now, if they feel like they can't deal with it appropriately, then they can call up a police officer to do their work, but it's not up to the police. The police know their jurisdiction and stay out of that. And that's the way that it should be, because the police have got enough shit on their hands other than dealing with that. And they struggle to understand their own road rules and laws and shit like that when they're doing their work, let alone having to now understand and read and be fluent in the CAA aviation regulations. and it's just not in their area, and it's just you're gonna see a lot of shit happening. I can see that going overboard for essentially what is a bunch of nerds with toys, which is the crazy thing.
I worry about them feeling like RC people are an easy target, because if you get burgled in the UK and you phone them at the police, they sort of go, yeah, okay, here's your crime number for your insurance company, and that's it. That's the level of their investigation. But if someone says there's a guy here flying a drone, they're like, oh, we could go and arrest him, because then we've solved a crime and we've ticked in a box and we've got a statistic that a crime was reported and it was solved by us, and it was easy because he just stood there doing this thing with these sticks and we were able to apprehend him easily. Soft targets is what I worry about there. So you think they're busier with more important stuff, but really they're not. They're just trying to get their statistics up.
Yep. It's a little bit scary, and I always just keep on coming back again. I go, show me the statistics to prove your fear. When you show me the statistics, I'll start to believe you. But the statistics are pretty fucking simple. Even in terms of invasion of privacy, show me the number of cases of actual invasion of privacy by using a drone. And you'll see that the number is so fucking small that you're like, why are we even worrying about this? Why are we worrying about this and not the guy with a GoPro stuck to a pole that can do it for longer, quieter, and actually get a better shot?
Yeah. That is a point. I know.
Why are we not worried about the guy who rents a Cessna flying around at 500 feet completely legally with a DSLR camera in his hand and a telescopic lens?
Yeah.
So the mistake you're making here, Chad, is you're applying common sense to this. You must run around like a headless chicken. That's the way to do it.
That's the issue that we run into, where all of these regulators, and I'm not worried about fighting for our right because of safety and all that sort of stuff. What I worry about is all these big organizations that have got the money, which is why these things are happening and why these things are moving, because money talks. And these organizations are using safety and privacy as the reason to push their agenda, where safety and privacy is not the issue. It's these loaded companies with money that these crooked officials are listening to. That's where the problem is. It's not the safety and that sort of stuff. So if it was all just about safety and all that kind of thing, I wouldn't have a problem fighting that, because I could see we could win that. It's these big companies with these ulterior agendas. That's what I'm worried about, and that's what I think we can't win on. I just don't see us winning. And I see the whole thing, like Chad Kappa's setting up his whole group of people within Rotor Riot, his whole new committee to represent FPV. I was like, yeah, we're going to do it because we're going to be a people. We're going to get petitions, and we're going to get signatures, and we're going to show our case. Okay, first of all, if every single FPV pilot signed a signature, we still wouldn't have enough because we're such a minority group. Educating people, no one cares about what we've got to say because the truth is fucking boring. People like stuff that's all scary and in your face. And why the fuck would they listen to anyone, Chad Kappa or any one of these other officials, when none of these people have money, power, or any push? Chad Kappa's not going to walk up to any of these politicians and stick a big wad of money in his hand, in their pocket. They don't care about us. They never will. I'm not going to stop them from trying, but I'm in their groups and I'm reading their stuff, and I'm just sitting there going, wow, you guys really think that this is going to, like, they're sitting there trying to lobby the FCC so that we can have our own dedicated 5.8 and 2.4 bands just for FPV. And I'm sitting there going, do you realize how busy the radio spectrum is? 5.8 and 2.4 are unlicensed bands for a reason, because people can use like literally millions of shit out there.
Yeah, which makes money.
Yeah. No one is interested in us. No one cares about us. Stop pretending like we are important to them, because we're not. We're hobbyists. We're the little guy. That's just the fact of the matter. Now, I really hope that something will change and that I'm wrong, that we can get heard, but I just don't see it happening. It scares me. Like I said, the whole safety and privacy, I'm not scared of that. I'm scared of the big companies that want to own our airspace, and the only reason why they can't own the airspace is because we're in it and we have all of these exceptions in the law, and they're trying to get rid of that law so that they can do whatever the fuck they want. Once they get rid of those laws, we're fucked. And they're using their power, their push, their money to push their agenda in the way of safety and all that sort of stuff. And the people that are making the decisions don't want to hear from us. The public don't want to hear from us, because all they're seeing is these news stories of drones hitting planes and drones spying on people. They don't care what we have to say.
Yeah.
We're in a losing battle and we're the minority. And I wish I could say something more positive, but I don't know how we fix this. I just don't. Because in 10 years, I see all of us being ushered into model aircraft clubs, doing circuits with the fixed wing guys, and autonomous drones doing their thing freely in the rest of the airspace, which I think is fucking ludicrous, because I live in a country like Australia where 90% of it, no one lives.
Yeah, then it's completely... Do you know what I mean? You could do anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, just get completely naked and run around and no one would know or care.
I do it all the time.
Probably does.
So, yeah, I really don't know what the answer is. If I see something that I think is, I know what we've got's worth fighting for, but it's kind of like there's a brick wall there and I need to get through it, so I'm going to punch it with my bare hands. You can continually punch until you've got no hands left, or you can go, I need to reassess the situation and step back until I can find a hammer. And right now, I don't see the hammer in our situation. And that concerns me greatly.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much, I think next October, with the way my health is and the way the regulations are going, if it is as bad as I think it is, I'm probably going to sell up before. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, I don't want to go on a list. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be, like, registered and have to, like, fly in a certain place, because, like, you know, I've seen, like, the BMFA ground where I am now, and they don't want me there. Do you know what I mean? They don't.
Well, I grew up as a fixed wing pilot. I grew up in MAAA. That's our version of you guys, model aircraft fields, doing that whole thing, living that life, having lots of friends there. I got out of it for a couple of years and I came back with drones, and I went from lots of friends to who the fuck are you? You can't bring that on here. I'm going, wait, you remember me, right? They're going, no, that's not welcome. I know what it's like. They don't give a shit about us. The only reason why they ever showed any interest in us because they realized that their membership was floundering and they saw this new hype industry and they saw a way to make money. So they're like, oh, come back, come back. It's kind of like a little bit too late. Also, what the fuck do you have to offer with us? And then these businesses are now going, well, now you can come back to us because we're fighting for you. No, you're fighting for the ability for us to have our only way to fly is to buy in on your membership and fly at your fields. So you're basically ensuring that you get your membership back, of which you treated us like shit so early on. And I'm sorry, not fucking good enough. And like I keep on saying, I will gladly stand down when people show me statistics to prove that we are a problem. But we're not, and that's a fact. And I will continue to fly. For as long as I want to fly, they will not stop me. Even if that means that me going underground and doing a YouTube channel that no one knows who I am. And I know a number of people are saying that, because I genuinely don't give a fuck about views or money or anything like that. I do it because I do something that I'm proud of, that I'm passionate of, that I want to share to people because it might move them in some way.
How hard is it going to be though? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, like yeah, going underground, you got to wander around a load of kit in your bag, and then you know, like find different places. You can't take your car because that'll be like, you know, it will have a number plate on it. I'm just like,
you can do whatever you want, but in the editing, you can cut all that shit out. It just means you've got to think a little bit harder about what you put on there. And I know that's the way I think a lot of people are going. The true hobbyists, that's the way that I see them going. And for some people, you know, this is the stupid thing. And I've said this to Casa. I said, there's a lot of people that'll interest them. Now it becomes a game. Try and catch me. So people are now going to go out of their way to do more extreme shit just to piss these organizations off, because they know so long as they do things smart, they will never get caught. Because it's easy enough to have an anonymous email. It's easy enough to have an anonymous YouTube channel. And people will start, I'm telling you, people will go out of their way to do more crazy shit just to poke the bear. And I said that to Casa when I was with him. I said, this is what you're doing. You're sticking your head in the sand. You're not engaging with people. And what you're forcing is you're not stopping it. Because their biggest concern with me was they said, you put it on YouTube. They said, we wouldn't have had a problem with it until you put it on YouTube. And I'm going, hang on. The only reason why you're investigating me, according to you and according to you as a business, as a government organization, is because of safety. So whether I put it on YouTube or not, I've still done it. So in your eyes, it's still unsafe and still needs to be fixed. So why the fuck do you care whether I put it on YouTube or not? They're going, oh, because you're sort of advertising to other people. I'm going, so you just don't want me to encourage it. You don't give a shit about the people who do stuff without putting it out there, because you know people are doing it all the time. You just don't want people to encourage it. And I'm sitting there going, that's got nothing to do with safety, because people are still doing it. And I know plenty of commercial pilots out there that used to be FPV pilots that have gone in the commercial era, and they go, I still do these amazing flights, and I still get footage, and I still record it because I love it. I just don't put it on YouTube anymore. The people are still doing it. They're just not sharing it on YouTube as much. And when they do share it, they're sharing it in a smarter way. So it's still being shared. You're not fixing the problem.
They never will, though. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It's like,
well, especially they will never fix a problem that's not a problem.
yeah,
that's the thing. So, like, you're never going to fix murders, but everyone agrees that murder is great. People are still going to murder people, but
murder is great.
Yeah,
it depends who you murder.
Yeah. Everyone will admit it's murder's not a good thing, but people are still going to murder. But it's an outside thing, because the general populace agrees that being around humans, I have experience with humans, it's wrong to murder another human. Where we're flying these quads, and we know that they're not dangerous. They're not breaking these rules of humanity. The rules that they're putting in are complete bullshit. So you know, think about all of these rules out there that you know are bullshit. People will continue to do them and go, so long as I know that I'm not going to be easily caught, I'm going to continue fucking doing it. And
mind you, like the UK's got some bizarre laws, haven't they? Like you can't carry a plank of wood across London and stuff like that.
Yeah, but people still do it. Well, are you likely to get caught if you do it?
I don't know.
It seems unlikely. There's a bunch of obscure laws that are still on statute. But I don't think the police know about them to actually arrest you.
But see, that's my thing. If you know the law is stupid and you know that it's not actually doing any wrong, affecting other people, and you know the likelihood of getting caught is very, very low, you're just going to keep on doing it, aren't you? So those who believe that the law is correct, they're not actually achieving anything.
Curry Kitten, say something.
Yeah, or could silence.
It's true stuff. But you're sort of, we're all in the situation now that we're like, okay, well, what can we do? Nothing. There's an inevitability about more shit happening, but just carry on anyway. But secretly, become the secret FPV club.
Yeah. I find that funny that we're like these rebels, and I've always had that right from the beginning. When I got in 2013, there was this rebellious nature about it, and I've always laughed, going like, we're these sort of criminalistic rebels, but in reality, we're a bunch of nerds that would scream if our friend went boo as we walked around the fucking corner.
Well, I'm afraid of moths.
So we've seen.
Yeah. It's welcome to modern society.
This sucks.
Fucking freedom, man.
Oh, word.
So yeah, I don't know what the answer is, but I think the next 2 years will be very interesting in defining our hobby.
I think we're pretty fucked.
I think we are too, but let's all agree to adjourn again in 2 years for another live feed and discuss what's happened.
It's like, oh man, I don't. You know what I mean? I can't. Do you know the thing is, right? I've got the health issue, and me joining the BMFA still does not solve that because they don't have any toilets. So like, do you know what I mean? It's like, what do I do? Do I sell up now? You know, and then like, how can I do Let's Drone Out when I don't even fly anymore?
I would say continue flying until it becomes to a point where you have to choose because of legalities. Right now, you don't.
Yeah.
And wait, because you never know. The crazy shit might happen, and they might allow us a lot more than what we're worried about. So don't sell up until you get to a point where it's like, okay, decision time, because now they've officially put this in, and it's been shown that the police are gonna show down on this and continue on apprehending people and so forth. Is the risk worth it? Do I keep on flying? I'm honestly in the same boat. I keep on going. I'm going to keep on flying until it gets to a point where, like, if they're that serious, it's kind of like, well, it's not worth fighting anymore. Yeah. Like, if I was having to fight for my kid's life, I'd fight a lot harder. But at the end of the day, this is a toy and a pastime for me, and I don't need to fight that hard. But until that point in time where they're going to fucking chuck me in jail, fuck you, I'm going to keep on doing and then keep on fighting. Because right now, I laugh every time I look at this and they start talking about us like we're criminals. Going, are you fucking kidding me?
Can imagine all sat around a jail. It's like, what are you in for? Murder. What about you? Rape. What about you? Flying. I flew my toy, and they didn't like it. I still like the idea of a crack team of police looking up at the sky, saying, "Well, that looks like it's at 410 feet to me. We'll better get him." or the more interesting thing about doing a pure autonomous mission where you just fly around the police station overhead for like an hour or however long you got in the battery, and then they get all upset and try and work out who's doing it, and then you just fly back off home again.
Well, I want to preface what I'm going to say next by saying we would have never have done it. But this is going back, 1 or 2 years ago, when all the world leaders came to Brisbane, including Obama, for like talks of something like that. The police, and like, it was well known, everyone was said, in the center of Brisbane, if you're caught with any kind of remote control aircraft or drone, you'll get into trouble and it'll get confiscated off you. So stay out of the CBD. Just stay right out of it. And we're like, wow, okay. So we sat down one night, we're having drinks, lots of stuff, and we decided we were going to, what could we build to enable to get a quad into the center of the city? And we came up with a design and all the components, lots of stuff, just as the challenge. How could we beat the system? It was kind of like, wow, we could actually do this, because we know they haven't turned off GPS. So we could just get a 3DR style APM board and fly it in there, and then use inertial navigation, and we're like, wow, we could actually make all this work. But it's just, fucking. I remember that. That was like 2016 or something like that, where they were like, you will get arrested if you're caught with a remote control aircraft of any kind in your car. And I was like almost tempted to just drive through the city going, are you actually going to take like a micro quad or something like that and go, you're actually going to arrest me with this, you fucking retards.
Well, I mean, it's you say that, but it's like, you know, look, I've seen I've read in the newspaper about the the kid who got done with a bylaw. A little like 10-year-old or something was playing with a little toy car in a field in London, and just got totally done.
See, here's the interesting thing that with a lot of these rules, what I hear from a lot of people is, oh, you've only got to register your aircraft, or you've only got to do this. There are only small rules. What's the problem? And I go, a lot of these rules, okay, I'll agree with you. Yeah, I mean, but if we look past that, they're only small rules. What's the problem? And I go, yes, they are small rules. But as someone who's been on the firing line and on the chopping block, I will tell you my problem with those small rules. Have you ever been in a situation, or can you imagine a situation where you get pulled over by a police officer who thinks you're doing something wrong, and you stand your ground and basically prove him wrong and make him look like a dickhead? If he's an asshole police officer, what's he going to do next? Next, he's going to search you for do a breathalyzer test. Then he's going to search your car, and he's going to basically keep on fishing until he finds something to take you in with. And this is what I see with a lot of these minute, stupid little rules and regulations, which is what I saw CASA do, is they decided that they didn't like me. So they used all of these tiny little rules, and they basically were fishing to see what they could catch.
Yeah.
And if you fish for long enough, eventually you will catch something. And that's what I hate about these rules, because it's not these tiny little rules, but it's all this tiny stuff all put together, that when the government or one of these officials decides that they don't like you, or they don't like your hobby or your society, then they can get all these and go, oh, we're just following the law. That's what I dislike about all this sort of stuff, and what we need to be very careful about it. And this is coming from someone who's experienced this stuff on a number of situations. A lot of people don't know, but when I first got well known, when I first started getting on the TV, when the Drone Nationals 2015 in Sacramento first got well known, it was started getting in the news, and the news station started. I went to a race, and I first got known because I went to a car park, the pylons car park with the yellow pylons, and like National 9 News or whatever came in and interviewed me and did a piece on me. And so that was like the country's first sort of big advertising of racing drones. CASA decided that they didn't like the fact that I was advertising drones. So they called me up. This is after me spending 6 months trying to talk to them, saying, hey, I can see an issue with your regulations coming out soon. I'm a pilot. I'm getting well known. I'd like to talk to you about it and also be a voice for you to the general public and the general public to you, so that we can talk more about this, because I can see a problem when you talk about it. They told me to basically fuck off, but that's how they got my phone number. And then when they saw me on the news, they got on there and they started using bullshit excuses and threatening me with $10,000 fines. So I was threatened with a $10,000 fine for flying in an enclosed, like underground style car park. So it was at ground level, but it's like a multi-story thing. So for example, they were saying that I was being dangerous because I didn't close off the entrances, all the entrances to the car park. What if someone walked in? And I said, it was 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night. No one was there. And they said, you still didn't put it off there. And then they're going, okay, you were flying closer than 5 kilometers to an airfield. And I'm sitting there going, but I was flying in a car park. And they said, yes, but if you look up the technical terminology of flying indoors needs to be a roof, a minimum of a roof and 3 or more walls. So this car park had 2 walls, and the other 2 walls were like semi-walls, semi-open. So they weren't technically walls. So they said, you were flying within 5 kilometers of an airfield, so you're being dangerous. And I said, listen, if a fucking Cessna hits me in there, he's got bigger problems to worry about than a fucking quad. Because he's in an underground car park. You fucking retard. But they were using all of these minor things to get to stick to scare the crap out of me. But I was so fucking pissed off that I ended up just saying, look, either fucking find me or fuck off. And I hung up on them, and I never heard from them again. But this is the way that these people are, and this is why I don't like these small rules and regulations, because they will get you on something small if they decide that they don't like you. And that's the way that these organizations are. And right now, we're a pain in their side, and they want to get rid of us. So they want to find as many small reasons to get rid of us.
It's like, you know, can you imagine getting pulled over for something like, oh, you didn't stop at that stop sign, and then they breathalyze you and they're like, no, and then they do the drugs test and they're like, no, and then they're like, right, they search the boot and then they find propellers and they're like, oh my god, there's a drone, you've been involved in a illegal flight. And
they're not mine, they're someone else's.
I know.
Someone else put them there.
Can you imagine it? Like, could you fucking imagine it?
Yeah, it's kind of stupid and a little bit scary, but
it's true though. It can happen.
Yeah, but I've like I said, I've experienced this shit, and it's not fun. And especially when you are not actually doing anything dangerous and you're flying a fucking toy. It's this is what's coming up ahead if these guys get full reign.
The police do this all the time, in fact. In the UK, I don't know how it is in Australia, but in the UK, they're not allowed to do random breathalyzer tests. So around Christmas time, you will see a line of cars being stopped, and the policeman saying to each person, which includes me because I've been pulled over, oh, I noticed you go around that corner a bit fast. Can I just ask if you've been drinking at all? And they'll go and smell your breath, and they'll do a breathalyzer if they want. It's essentially allowing them to do a random test under the auspice of, yeah, I didn't like the way you came around the corner. So just imagine, you could easily translate this into, you know, I think you're flying too high, or I think you're being dangerous, and I'm going to seize all these drones and I'm going to go to your house.
Do you get in trouble if you say, have you been drinking? And you say yes.
Yeah, they breathalyze you.
Yeah, and then if it comes up 0, do you still get in trouble for saying yes?
I tend not to try and bait them when I want to be on my way.
Technically, like, yeah, of course I'd be drinking, or I'd dehydrate and die. You know,
it's an unusual one for me, because for someone, puppy dog, for someone who doesn't drink much, I think I've only ever had any alcohol in my system once in my entire life while I've been driving. So very strange, I know.
For me, actually.
Yeah, like I don't drink that much, and when I know I'm going to drink, I just elect to not drive. And I've only ever once, and I wasn't. It was like 1 drink, so I wasn't over the limit or anything like that. But only once in my life have I ever done drinking and driving. It's just the way that I've been. I've just never been much of a drinker.
Oh man, but they're going to hold you accountable for that on this now, even though it's unlisted. They're going to be like, right.
They'll find it and they'll prosecute. Chad Noack admits to being drunk. Several occasions whilst driving.
Oh, well, I got a lot worse dirt out there. So if that's the worst that can come out of today, then I'm pretty happy. Ruby, puppy dog, come here. I got a dog with.
Oh, she's such a cutie.
Ruby.
Oh.
What's up, puppy dog?
Right, on that note, guys, it's late for me, so I'm going to have to call it there.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, guys.
Fun to finish up, I think.
Yeah.
And then we can pick another subject next time.
Thank you, guys. This has been the bonus Patreon thing. Thank you so much for supporting us. It means the world to me, and the fact that I can beat my whipping boy publicly, my little Tony. Tony, if you're listening to this, you're my little bitch. And I've been the remaining people are Chad,
Yo,
Curry Kitten,
Hello and bye-bye.
and I've been Bright Till I Fly. Take care, you guys. Thank you very much.
see you later.